Welcome back, watchers and listeners to the show. I'm your host, David Picorni. With us here today is offensive line coach Garett Aimutis, as always. Garett, how we doing today? How we doing, brother?
I mean, it's another beautiful day out here in the KC area. I mean, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, and I'm ready to get going, baby.
Also, guys, big news. We changed the name after one episode. You know how it be. You know how
Yeah,
it be.
listen, we workshopped it, we gave it the episode, and we just found something better, and I think you guys are gonna really like it.
So we're now Talkin Chop, and I did check to make sure this name was allowed for us to use because it's a pretty clever name. I think someone else would have come up with it. There was a what was it? It wasn't Florida State. Florida State's the one you found, but there was an Atlanta Braves podcast called Talkin Chop, but they're cowards and they changed their name. So now it's
Yeah,
our
the
name.
Seminoles one, they stopped posting forever ago. So hey, look, it was open. We're good.
It's open. It's open
It's open.
season. Welcome to Talkin Chop, baby. I'm excited. As always, follow us on Instagram at Upper Hand Chiefs for all the hard posts and stuff. Those I put a lot of effort into those. I need you guys to watch them or look at them and like them.
And we have reels now, guys. Believe it or not, we're gonna have reels.
Dude, the reels are fun. I really like the reels. You know, it's how people consume media these days.
Listen, if you don't get enough of our mugs on the podcast, go on the reels, man. You get a lot more of us.
I like that. I've never heard that term. The mugs. I knew exactly what you meant though. Yeah, I forgot to do this, but yeah. And then
It's official, baby.
yeah.
It's official.
But as always, one of my favorite things that we have here is our ESPN ticker. Now this sucks because it's the last episode that we're gonna get to use it. It's the
I know. I mean, dude, it's draft week, baby, right here. We're right around the corner.
I'm scared, man. I mean, it's on Thursday. It's Monday today. By the way,
dude.
me and Garett went to the draft last year together
Right
because
there.
Kansas City. This shirt goes hard. I wear it at work all the time, and they're always like, "All right, David, we get it. You're from Kansas City."
I mean, they did an awesome job for that draft too. I mean, it was amazing, great experience.
I was really hoping Chiefsaholic would show up in the crowd somewhere though, and
Dude,
everyone was
we were
talking
looking
about that.
for him, man. That bounty was crazy.
Yeah, that was in the heat of it too, and he was like on the loose.
Yeah, I was actually pretty positive he'd show up, but I guess he was, lying low in his den, you could say.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Christian Okoye for signing Garrett's hat.
Facts, Nigerian Nightmare, baby. I mean, he was a
Uh,
really cool dude. Walked through there. MVS is on there as well. Chiefs legends, both
Yeah,
of them. I
I'm
think
s-
one maybe a little bit higher on the pedestal, but hey, both Chiefs legends in our eyes.
All right, but let's get right into this, guys. This is the episode I'm most excited about. We're going to be talking O-line today. And that's, Garrett, I think you know a thing or two about offensive line.
No, I know nothing, man. That's just not even close to my expertise.
But a little preview, we're going to be talking O-line, just general news around the NFL, our guys, Mahomes and co, and all the jazz, or the season projections. Also, let's just get right into the news first. I kind of got ahead of ourselves here. You get to wait for the O-line.
I know. I mean, hey, I've been waiting all my life to talk about O-line. I think I can wait a couple minutes more.
Because Zach Wilson is a Bronco. That's what we got to talk about first. Look,
What a beautiful QB room. Ben DiNucci, the GOAT, Jarrett Stidham, and now possibly the best QB on their roster, which is really saying something, Zach Wilson.
Now, Zach Wilson is a guy, he has all the intangibles. He can throw deep. He's got that fun little scramble stuff he does and can find open receivers.
But man,
In
he can
college-
also find open corners too. I'll tell you what.
Look, I think this move was ultimately good for the Broncos. Like, they got him for literally nothing, and I think the Jets are paying half
Yeah,
the salary.
I mean, I feel like they're just looking for competition there. Obviously, you're going to have quite a bit of competition with that level of play among your three quarterbacks. I'm excited to see who's going to come out on top. Hot take. I'm thinking Ben. I'm thinking Ben DiNucci is going to come on top as the front runner for the Broncos quarterback spot if they don't address it in the draft, which I think they have to at this point.
I
If they
think they're
find
going to
their
go
guy
Bo
late.
Nix. I think
Yeah,
they're going to
Bo
go Bo
Nix.
Nix. But Ben DiNucci could definitely make the team as the backup QB. Although
I
I
think
think
he will easily be the second, if not the first, if they don't address quarterback, which would be. Please don't. Broncos GM, do not address QB in the draft. That's not what you need right now. You got your guys.
Moving on, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards recently went to the Chargers. Gus Edwards a lot earlier in the season, but J.K. Dobbins recently. We visited with J.K. J.K. came into the Chiefs facility, and we said, no, we're good. We're just going to re-sign Clyde instead. So
I just don't know what it is with Dobbins, man. I feel like he's just the football gods do not look brightly upon him. I feel like every time he gets a good situation going, I mean, behind that Ravens offensive line and scheme, I think he would have excelled. But I mean, it's just off-season injury after off-season injury, preseason injury. It's just, when does it become enough?
Yeah, and I mean, Faraz has been a big fan of his for a while. That's Upper Hand Fantasy for those of you. But yeah, he just could never stay healthy, and unfortunately, in this league, availability is the best ability, which is why Kelsey's the goat. That's why
Shout out,
Tony. It's why
shout out.
Tony. It's why Tony G is the goat, and why Kelsey has a
He has a
argued to
shot.
be.
He has a shot.
Yeah, well, he's got to step it up a little bit. Moving on, Garrett, you told me this, and I guess I was too sucked into
Huge
the
news.
podcast prep, but
Our
Matt
boy,
Ryan,
the
Matt
old
Ryan
guard,
is officially gone.
gone, gone with the wind.
I mean,
I don't remember if he signed a deal earlier in the offseason or maybe it was like a 1 year deal with the Falcons, but he did officially retire a Falcon.
okay, that's cool. I,
So
I
I'm
like that for
assuming it was
him.
like a 1 day deal. I mean, obviously he kind of had to at that point. A little bit of a journeyman exit at the end there. Not like, the fireworks he was really looking for a couple years ago, but hey, wonderful career, one of the premier quarterbacks of that age, and we've only really got one more. And
Joe
I don't
Flacco.
Joe Flacco, baby. That's who I was talking about.
Who were you
Uh,
talking about?
Rogers.
Oh, right. Well,
You
I feel
know,
like he doesn't play much because he's all.
well, I don't know
He
how
has
many
had
he
those
has
good
left.
seasons,
He's
literally,
he's
yes.
had,
But
I mean, back to back MVPs, but
yes, Rodgers
pretty
is still.
recently. Uh,
His
but
Jets career was just, not.
yeah, he's really the last one left. It's a brand new age, and obviously people have probably seen it, but I mean, in usually every single AFC playoff, Mahomes is the oldest quarterback.
That's actually, yeah, that's the crazy stat that always gets me too. And there's a lot of good names on here, and I think a lot of people get disrespected, especially Matt Ryan. People love to hate on Matt Ryan, and they just didn't watch him when he
I
was
mean, he
good.
had one of the most highly touted MVP seasons of all time. Obviously, tainted a little bit by a certain really big bowl game that you just happened to fall short at the end. But I mean, he was a stat merchant. The dude was lighting it up with Julio and Calvin Ridley when they were
On
on
the
top of
same
each
team
other.
for
And
that 1 year, dude. And the Mohamed Sanu Taylor Gabriel days is what
God,
I
dude,
remember them
remember when
as.
Mohamed Sanu went to the Patriots like out of
Yes,
nowhere and he was just awful?
it was like for a third round pick too. It was
Yeah,
actually like
they
insane.
fleeced.
Patriots have
No
been
disrespect to Mohamed Sanu, of course.
no, yeah, Mohamed Sanu. It wasn't. He had
It wasn't
already
meant to
had
be.
his time because he was on the Bengals when he started. But we are digressing heavy. I wanted to list some of the quarterbacks that I think I grew up watching that I miss. I don't miss them, but I do. Phillip Rivers comes to mind first. Like, gosh, we've had some great memories with Mr. Phil and
God, I
his
miss seeing him
clutch
in the red zone.
interceptions. His clutch interceptions to Daniel Sorensen in the end zone.
I mean, hey,
Um,
who knows? Maybe we'll have another Rivers as a rival quarterback. I mean, he's got 14 of them, so at least one of them has to be good, right?
that would be crazy. Yeah, when are Rivers' kids next up?
Dude, imagine though, it's could be around the same time. Maybe Mahomes' son and Rivers' son, they just kind of grow up, and now they're Chiefs Chargers rivals once again. Man, it's
That
a
would be
family
pretty funny.
feud.
That it would be pretty funny. Some other greats. Drew Brees retired a while ago. Who are the recent ones that have retired?
I mean, this one isn't recent, but I mean, obviously Andrew Luck retiring early. I
That
mean,
was
he
yeah.
had
I mean
a huge start to his career. Obviously, injuries just absolutely demolished this man's morality. But I
yeah.
mean, I can't believe. You remember when we had that fantasy? Oh God! And I drafted him literally a week later. He's like, "Yeah, I'm retiring."
I
He
think
was one of
this.
my top picks.
I remember we were trying to get Brock to take Lamar Miller in that draft, and Lamar Miller had just gotten cut.
I don't remember if that was the year, but I remember I took Dalvin Cook and Leonard Fournette during their rookie years, and they both got injured after playing really well. That was a great year for me in
Oh,
fantasy,
I'm sure,
obviously.
dude.
But
And then going back to some of these QBs, one of the ones Ben Roethlisberger, because I feel like these quarterbacks that were so great in their time, we watch now like that are just getting into the NFL saw the back half of
yeah,
Roethlisberger's career, and they see him as
they
like a
saw the guy held up by strings. He was going
yeah,
out there and he was just riddled with injuries, and you could just tell something was off with his game. And I feel like that's usually the case with those top premier quarterbacks. I mean, you don't see guys go out in blazes of glory like Peyton Manning with his Super Bowl and Tom Brady with the Super Bowl, and then obviously missed the playoffs, but or
Even
made the
Joe
playoffs, but
Montana, Joe Montana with the Chiefs, his last like run, like he took a terrible Chiefs team
yeah.
pretty far in the playoffs for his
I
last
mean,
year.
obviously, another great example of that is Drew Brees. I mean, he did not ride off into the sunset. I mean, he was just on the slow stroll off into the sunset.
He gets
So
the benefit of the doubt though because of the Rams pass interference thing.
yeah, that worst call, missed call, probably in NFL history, I would say.
Nah, I see. I'm in the weird camp where I don't really care. I like let the boys play. Nickel Roby
I mean, yeah, let
Coleman.
him. I mean, let him play to an extent, but the man was right there. Ball was maybe a couple feet away, and the dude comes in like a missile. Just no eyes on the ball, just straight out of WWE. Let me spear the guy getting the ball. I mean, hey, if he was a Chiefs player, that's PI all day, baby.
Yeah, Nickel Roby Coleman, the legend. I think he said something about how he's like they didn't call it, and it's kind of funny.
They didn't call it. I mean,
All
he's
right,
right though. They didn't call
Garrett, it's your time to shine. I need to know who should the Chiefs get if we're getting an offensive tackle. We
it.
could address it in the first round.
I'm gonna save probably my personal favorite to the end here. So
Perfect
we're gonna
call. Perfect
start
call.
with a little, not a little, but a big guy out of Arizona, Jordan Morgan. He's got a pretty good game. Overall in the run game, I think he could get pushed around a bit. I don't think he's super heavy in the feet, but when he gets down into a good stance, I mean, he can be just this, hulking, imposing monster out there. And uh, I don't think we're necessarily looking for a run first offensive tackle, but to have that kind of skill set, I think it takes a very dedicated player in the mind to be as rough and as dirty as I've seen Jordan Morgan play. Good explosiveness, really good, first step off the ball. I mean, if you need him to pull, he's got a decent running speed, but I wouldn't say I mean, he can keep up with edge rushers. I wouldn't say he can necessarily move them and position to them where they need to be
Mm.
in a pocket, but he can definitely keep up with them. A little bit shorter stride, but overall, I think he's a pretty good prospect. If we got him, I would not be mad at all.
Would you be mad if we took him with our first pick, though? Do you think he's going to
Yes,
be
I
there
would.
at
I would
32?
be mad
Okay.
if we took him with our first pick, but if he drops a little bit, I think that could be a value prospect for us.
Yeah, I see him around that like 60 to 78 range, which is like, or not
A
60
li-
to 78,
it's like
50,
slightly
50,
out of our
50.
pick
Yeah.
range. It's just like we would either have to trade down or trade up to get him, and it's a little much for what I think he's worth. I
I,
think he will be a decent starter in the league, but for right now, I think uh, definitely not first overall material. Um, Next up, this guy, I think he's such a weird prospect to gauge because every single either mock draft or prospect profile or any just sort of article where it tells you from top to bottom who's going to go where. This kid is all over the place, and that is Karan Amagagie.
mm,
He's from Yale, good offensive tackle. I've seen him drop as low as sixth round, and I've seen him go as high as second. I personally, I'm really high on him. He's really big bodied, huge stride on his kick slides. When he shuffles, he covers a lot of ground at one time. Really good balance, power. He's got a really good hit set and really good aim on his hands. I haven't seen too much bad on him. I mean, for how big he is, he's pretty high. Kind of sits straight a little bit. He doesn't have too much bend in the knees, but when I look at offensive line prospects, I look at intangibles, right? I look at size, power, dirtiness, and just the passion to go out there and just put your body on the line. Those things you can't really teach.
hmm
What you can teach is technique. And if one of his biggest problems is he plays a little high and sometimes his feet are a little slow, those are changeable. I think the coach on the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, I think we can work with him. I think he's a prototype offensive tackle for us, and I would not be mad at all if we got him in the second or third.
That's the guy that I really want. And I even mocked him in one draft I did for another fan pages, going to us at 32, because I am really high on him. Now, he was injured last year, which is why I think he is so all over the place when it comes to the draft board. And that might work in our favor because remember, Trey Smith
Trey
went in the
Smith,
sixth
baby. I
round.
mean, injuries with offensive linemen are always a fickle thing. I think they're usually the toughest guys on the field. I mean, like, a little nick here and there is not going to stop a true offensive lineman from getting on the field. I mean, you look at Jason Kelsey, he probably played a ton of games, torn ACLs, meniscus, little rips, and I don't think he missed a game.
I mean, he had to. I think.
Yeah, I think he had a huge long streak. I'm not remembering the number of snaps played or games played, but I mean, for
Yeah, I
how
think you're right.
physical and how many games he played, I mean, it's impossible he didn't have at least some kind of, you know, little bit of a nag at some point.
All right. So who's next, Garrett?
Next up, we're going away from tackles for a little while. We're gonna go into guards just for a little bit of depth. We got a couple guys on the Chiefs offensive line that are getting up there in age, and I think
Well, they just have their contracts up. That's the big problem. We
yeah,
can't.
I
They're too
love
good.
Tooney. I love you, buddy. But contracts are getting close, and we're getting up there in age, and you've been a great player for us. But I think if we can get a guy like Christian Hayes out of UConn to sit behind you and learn from the experience you've had going from the Patriots to now the Chiefs, being a multi-time Super Bowl winner, I think it would be beneficial because he fits our scheme pretty darn well. I mean, he is a great puller. I mean, he is physical out the gate, quick pulls right down the line. He's not taking wide arcs. Great zone blocker, which is really heavy in our scheme. I would say he's definitely above average athlete. You don't see a lot of guards with his decent size at that quick, and I think he really excels in that area. Uh, I think now this is getting really really technical here, but a lot of his weight definitely comes from that lower half. He's got really thick legs, a wide waist, and all of that power is just shooting up through his steps. I think he can really drive a lot of dudes off the line of scrimmage, and he can take them far. And I've seen that on film pretty often.
Where do you think he's projected to go around?
I don't think he's in the first or second. He might be probably mid second, late third, mid second, top early third. I think. I don't have his placements here. I was just kind of looking at them as a player in general.
Well, and that's the
Uh,
thing too. Is like nobody knows where these players are going to go, and like the fact of the matter is that's how the NFL scouts are looking at it. They're just looking at the players. They're like, I don't know where he's going to
I
go.
mean, you can have a guy that's projected to go third or fourth, and he just jumps up in the first. I mean, not a great example, but like Alex Leatherwood a couple of years ago with the Raiders.
Oh
I
God,
don't think
yeah.
anyone projected him to go in the first, but that was their guy. I don't think that worked out for him very well,
It's just
considering.
it's a very Raiders thing to do.
Listen, their drafting has been for us, maybe not them. I think they've done a little better recently, but after whiffing on so many first round picks, I'm getting a little off track. A couple cons about our man. I'm not trying to glaze him all the way. Uh, you know he I think like a very important part about pass protection that I look for is patience, and he gets off a little early on pass pro. I think his eyes are really quick, which isn't a bad thing, but I think if he just learns to sit in the pocket a little bit longer, look around, see where he needs either help or he's picking up a blitz or a twist. I just think he needs to sit a little bit still, just for that extra maybe half second, second longer, so he can gauge the full scenario. But that's again another very teachable thing. I've seen him a couple times get knocked over due to balance, but I mean, every single offensive lineman has been, put on their ass. So I think that's just something that comes with the game, and you get beat a couple times, and as long as it doesn't show up consistently, I think that can be improved as well.
Well, I was able to look up his draft projection, and you know what? It very much says exactly what we're saying. He is mocked in the first round in a bunch of mocks, and in the third round in a bunch of mocks, and second rounds.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
all
a
over
lot,
the
a lot
place.
of people
No,
are going to have a lot of differing opinions. Obviously, a lot of these scouts are going to see what they want to see out of a player, and I could see him going first. I could see him falling a little bit into the third, which, hey, If he does, I wouldn't mind spending
That's
a
where I
pick
would take.
there.
That's where I would like to take him if he falls in the third round.
Now,
Who's
up next is a
next?
guy that I am absolutely positive is not going to fall to our first round pick, and that is J.C. Latham out of
Hmm.
Alabama. This kid is, when you describe an NFL offensive tackle, you think just massive, thick bodied, huge poundage, just 6'7", just a monster, and that is J.C. Latham. He he's so huge, like Trent Williams big, but he moves like he's 60 or 50 pounds lighter than he is. He's just got this unnatural, alien, freakish athleticism to him, and it's like a thing of beauty to watch when you're an offensive, minded person, especially at the line position, because the things he does just should not be possible for a guy his size. I mean, his pass protection, I mean, he can match up with some of the premier, shifty outside edges and even outside linebackers that come in for blitzes. And that is a huge thing that I think we've been missing on the Chiefs is a
Mm.
guy that will consistently not get beat around the outside and fold Mahomes in. Because I love Mahomes, but when he has to step up into the pocket instead of being allowed to kind of shift around outside around, I think that's where his game falters a little bit. So I think we're going to look for a premier tackle that can really just shove an edge to the outside and keep that contained.
It would be a
Uh,
crazy move if we were able to trade up for him. And also, what I liked about JC is he had to block for Jalen Milrow. Milrow is all over the place behind that line of scrimmage. He is running around rampant, and JC able to have as good of a production as he has with that as his quarterback speaks volumes. Mahomes will be a lot more calculated and aware of where his line is as well.
oh yeah, and I would say easily the best part about his game is how it's so subtle, but the things he does with his hands on his sets and his kick steps, it's just the way he can bait a defender into a move that he wants just with the use of his hands is supernatural to me. I mean, the amount of times he can just sit back and he's the most patient. He just watches, sits back there, and he just takes him. I haven't seen a lot of really mistakes from him. I think probably the biggest problem with is you think with him being this massive, huge monster, he'd be like this Trent Williams dominant run blocker. I think he has a little trouble moving guys for his size at some time. At some points, I don't think it's a consistent problem. Uh, when he gets up against a more thick edge rusher, though, not those really shifty guys, I think he can get pushed back a little bit, but not nearly as often as you would call it a problem. I think J.C. Latham's going to go pretty early in the first round. If he drops, that is absolutely who I want. But if we're being realistic, I'm going to go more towards another guy we're going to talk about later. But J.C.
Man,
Latham is everything I would want in an offensive tackle.
what's funny is I think Chiefs fans, at least the casual viewer, might get really upset if we were to trade up for a tackle. But I mean,
I would not at all.
I
It,
would
it
love that
if he
move.
falls to that 22, 25 range, I think they should absolutely bite the bullet, trade up if it's possible, if teams aren't shutting us out of trading up, and we would need to snag
Yeah,
him.
that's another thing too. Is if JC Latham is on the board, there might be teams that are like, "Oh no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no." We would have to
And
offer a king's ransom.
obviously, there's a couple guys that I'm not going to mention. Like Joe Alt is just so completely out of our range of
It's
possibility.
sad, dude. He's the son of
I know.
former Chiefs legend
It's
John
just
Alt.
when you're playing that well, you're going to go high in there. And tackle is a premier position that you're going to really spend a lot of currency on. And unfortunately, that's just out of our price range. Uh,
Yeah.
this guy isn't though. Patrick Paul out of Houston.
Yes.
He's a guy that I just kind of picked up lately. Uh, thanks to David for kind of putting him on my radar. Uh, he has got some of the longest arms I've probably ever seen. And you might think, wow, that really doesn't sound that important. But it is when it comes to pass pro. He's got great anchor. He's just got good leverage. I mean, his stance and posture, it from 2022 to 2023, it just improved significantly. Uh, I think in 2022, I would not consider him a prospect, but from what I saw from that growth from 2022 to 2023 in terms of his initial get off, his drive, and his kick steps, he's looking significantly better. Now, I don't think he's worth a first or a second, but if he falls 3, 4, I think that's absolutely a range in which I think we could get him. I think there's a couple times during his game when he reverts back to that, old mindset of, a little slow feet, pretty heavy on the ground, you know, lets a guy past him a couple times. But I mean, he's 6'7", 330, benches, 30 times in the combine. You don't see that too often in a guy. He's,
No,
he's
that's
got
pretty
he's got the
impressive.
skills. It's just that technique. If he can improve and continue that growth from 2022 to 2023 and preferably into 2024 after the draft, I think he's a guy that can play well in this league.
Yeah, and the reason I asked you to look into this guy is per himself. He said that some teams have him as a first round grade, and he also visited with the Chiefs in the combine. So, someone the Chiefs have done their homework on, someone that could potentially end up on the Chiefs. So it's always good to know if you got it right. If Patrick Paul becomes in a
Hey,
different shade
if
of red.
any of the guys I mentioned aren't drafted by the Chiefs and they go play somewhere else and they really ball out, I'm gonna be a happy man regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, hey, shout me out next time when you're on the top of the mountain, okay? I believed in you boys. I do
Well,
have
that's
one more, but
okay.
I'm gonna save talking about him for our next segment.
Oh, ooh, okay, fair enough. Well, moving on, it's time for our guys. This draft process has been a very, very tenuous event, searching for all these stats, for interviews, for visits, for draft guides from whether it be from Upper Hand Fantasy, whether it be from PFF, whether it be from everybody. And then honestly, looking at the all 20 footage, our own eye test, our own biases. There's a lot, honestly, in this
I mean,
process.
when you have 400 something prospects, you're gonna have a lot of eyes on a lot of people, and everyone's gonna have their favorite guy that they find in a draft class. And I think we've compiled a pretty good list of people that
Yeah.
we have our eyes on.
So how do you want to do this? You want to go like I do one, you do one, back and
Uh,
forth? I think
I
that would
don't
be
have
better.
too many. If you want to like do two at a time, and then I slide in there with one, and I think I have a lot to say about my last one, so I might save him just for the end. But if we want to do 2-1, 2-1, it's all good with me.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I'll probably do the thing where I don't harp on guys I've harped on before. Or is that the right word? I'm not going to praise. For example, let's just start it off. Adonai Mitchell. Everyone knows I like him. I've been talking about it on my page since literally, I think it was week 10. I have a post, and everyone was like, this was when our receiver problem was
I
bad.
wonder why you
Like,
saw so much of his film. Like, was it just like on your off days, just
I
just
do,
a
I
couple little
do,
days on film?
I do work for the Longhorn Network, so I do see a lot of his footage that not everybody gets to see. So I've seen a lot of him, but it was week 10, and I was already on the wave before anyone else because I've seen a lot of him, and I was like, hey guys, we need to watch this guy. He is going to be really good. He is a he's so clutch. I can't reiterate that enough. You cannot teach clutch. This guy has played in national championships for Georgia. This guy was wearing the injury uniform in practice at the spring game for Texas. One-handed grab. And I'm like, okay, who the heck is this guy? He continues to prove himself. 3rd and 10 TCU. I posted that clip lately because it was so cool to me. And then at the Washington game, he demanded the ball, got it, and Texas was back in the game. And then they did go to him for the game-winning play. And did he catch it? No, it was a bad ball. It was underthrown. It needed to be high and above, right in his range where he could bring it up. It was kind of a wobbler. But Quinn had been under duress all game, and anyway,
I mean,
clutch
that's why he's a
receiver.
draft crush. He's another guy that, you know, probably going to go earlier than we expect in the first. I would not be surprised if he does fall the first. I think I think Mitchell might be the only wide receiver that if he falls to that 32 spot, I would take over a tackle. But
Me
I mean,
too.
it's worth it. I mean, he's a phenomenal player.
Well, and that's the thing is because when I was looking at him early, it was second round draft grade, and now all of a sudden, oh no,
He's
like
getting the hype, man. I think after that
Bills need a
Xavier
receiver.
Worthy, 40 time, I think those Texas wide receivers they just kind of got bumped in draft stock, keep going higher.
Yeah, and he had the 4.3, so he was pretty fast, but 4.35, but Let's go. Let's go to one of your guys for now.
This guy we semi mentioned in our mock draft last week,
Mm.
Isaac Garendo,
Mm.
running back out of Louisville. This kid is probably the most athletic or athletically gifted running backs I have ever seen. I mean, ran a 4.33. He's 222 pounds, 6 foot. There's this thing called RAS score. It's relative athletic score. It's this gauge that uh, basically combines the combine and skills of every single player going through the combine. And out of almost 1,800 running backs since 1988, he ranks fifth in total athleticism.
Wow, I didn't know that. Fifth?
I mean, the kid, he runs like a truck. He's got super high top end speed. I think he ran like a 4.33 at the combine. Averaged over 6 yards a carry in the past 3 years at Louisville, and I don't see why, if he's there in the fourth, we don't take him. That backfield duo with Isaiah Pacheco and Isaac would be absolutely brutal for any rush defense to deal with, because it's essentially a 1-2 punch of Isaiah Pacheco 2.0
Mm-hmm.
and regular pop.
Well, and the thing too is he was projected to be a seventh round pick before his combine, and then people started knowing, oh, this guy's good. We do not want to make the same mistake we did by passing on Isaiah Pacheco, so it's just shot his draft prospect or draft projections way through the roof to the point where I don't even know if he'll be obtainable for us. I think someone else will probably take him
Yeah, I
before.
don't know if it was my end, but you're kind of going robot mode right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Uh,
you got a face where it's like frozen there.
that's not good. It might be
It
my end over here.
could be my end, could be your end. That's why we didn't go live. We can just cut it to, we just repeat what was just said. I think you're slowly coming back into the light. You're going from blurry to not blurry. You're kind of focusing a little bit.
Well, at least we're recording it on my laptop, so
That's true. That's
uh,
true.
it looks like I did have the little Wi-Fi signal in the corner. Curse this Texas apartment complex
Okay, you're
Wi-Fi.
fully back, so we're good to go.
All right, moving on to Javon Baker, guys. Javon Baker. I never say his name loud enough. Javon Baker. This guy. I'm so glad that I was put on to Javon Baker because this guy is just such a sleeper because of that Madden type stat. We talked about him last episode, so I'm only going to touch on him for a little bit, and I have a ton of notes about him. But 21.9 yards a catch and had 1,200
I mean, it's
yards.
just insane.
Like
That
how?
that's a fake. Like it sounds fake.
And over his 4 year career, he had 17 yards a catch, which is still crazy. So yeah, I mean, this guy knows how to get open downfield, and the Chiefs haven't had a deep threat wide receiver. Their best one has been Justin Watson, and I stand by that because Mecole Hardman cannot stretch the field nearly as well. Juju Smith was more of an intermediate route runner. He was awesome, slicing up zones. He was like a mini Kelsey. I loved Juju. But we never truly had a deep threat since Tyreek Hill. And
Yeah.
Justin Watson was the only one who could get open deep, beat man coverage straight up, and track that ball when it's thrown so far down the field. And Javon Baker is a ability to do that. Now, Hollywood Brown fixes that problem as well. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm excited
I
for
mean,
that. But
to be seen, of course, but
to be seen.
from what we've seen of him so far, I think he can fix a lot of those issues. But hey, having another one doesn't hurt.
And then finally, the last wide receiver I'll talk about being one of my guys. Because listen, I did the most of my scouting was wide receivers because that's what people want right now, and that's what I want. I want to get one of these wide
Hey,
receivers.
I want a wide receiver too, man. I'm just a little biased when it comes to the line.
Well, I want a line first. I think O line is our biggest hole, but that's why these late round receivers. Brendan Rice continues to fall in mocks. I think he's going to get taken in the third round. People are saying the fourth round. There's no way he's going to be available at our pick in the fourth round.
No way.
But the thing I like about Brendan Rice that I don't think gets talked about enough is he had Caleb Williams at quarterback, and most of his touchdowns were coming from either a deep ball, which is, again, something the Chiefs need to fix because Mahomes' passing touchdowns deep have been severely diminished since Tyreek Hill's
And
departure.
honestly, I think the lack of a deep threat receiver has kind of affected Mahomes' deep bomb accuracy as well, because we've seen that fall off as well.
Exactly. And so Rice finds that, fills that hole really well. But the thing I like about him way more is he gets open when the play breaks down. You have Caleb Williams scrambling 30 yards back behind the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden, Brendan Rice finds a hole back of the end zone. Bam. Brendan Rice just does it repeatedly over and over again. That's where a lot of his touchdowns were coming from, is just finding soft spots in zone. You can tell he has a good head. You can tell he's the son of Jerry Rice because of his amazing football IQ. And that's something Mahomes wants again. He wants a receiver like Kelsey who knows where he needs to be when things aren't going according to plan. And I think Brendan Rice is going to be very good for that. All right, Garrett, let's go back to you.
We're going to finish up with my receiver, my pick of my draft crush, and we already know who that's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
It's my boy Ricky Pearsall out of Florida. Kid exploded on the scene. He had a decent year when Anthony Richardson was, slinging the rock or keeping it, as I like to call it, in Florida. But Graham Mertz comes in from the transfer portal. Definitely more of a, pocket passer, likes to sit back, gives his wide receivers a chance to make a play. Obviously, with the new system, I don't think he played up to his exact potential at quarterback, but Ricky Pearsall, he exploded on the scene. I mean, probably going to find that clip here, but I mean, Ricky Pearsall probably made the best catch of the 2023 season. One-handed snag, about a foot off the ground, just gets absolutely clobbered from the side, still comes down with it. Great catch radius, good hands. I think probably his biggest if about him is, can he really work off the press? I think corners in the league are getting better and better strength-wise and keeping wide receivers from getting into those intermediary and deeper routes. But like I said, you can't teach a lot of the physical skills, but when it comes down to technique and getting off of press, I think that's something a lot really coachable. I really love Ricky Pearsall. I think, decent enough speed to where he can compete in the league, but really great route runner. And I think if we can't get those premier deep threats, I think Ricky Pearsall really falls into that slot where we need him.
That's the great part too, is all these draft crushes are very obtainable gets, and that's what I like. This class is deep. There's so many players who are not getting talked about because of how well this class has been, especially for the wide receiver position. And honestly, the tackle position, as I started to look into it more too. So very great there. Ben Sinnott, all I have to say, football guy. I actually posted that to my story one of these days. Like, Ben Sinnott's just a football guy.
Just a football guy.
He swiped up and he liked that message immediately. He is just so fun to watch. And one of the games that I was watching, again, Big 12, Texas versus K-State, very important game where K-State had to come into town. Ben Sinnott just has the fluidity of a wide receiver at tight end. He is so athletic. It is insane how fast this guy can move. And honestly, I saw knocks on his blocking. I don't see it. Me and you watched his tape. I thought he had some really good blocking, and I think that he's able to move. Now, he had some weaknesses, of course, but he's really, really good at kind of that block and release, getting wide open, kind of move a guy out where he needs to be, and then make a play, catch the ball, and take it one catch for 5 yards. And hey, Kelsey's getting up there in age. If Ben is around the 5th round or 4th round, there's some talks of like, we have Noah Gray, and I love Noah Gray. I think he's a great player. Ben can come in and be a kind of a difference type of tight end and more of a receiving threat. So I like Ben. I like Ben a lot.
And I totally agree. And obviously, a lot of these draft crushes is considering they're going to be guys that are not going to be really first or maybe even early second round talents. They're all going to have their flaws, and we can look past some flaws if we see a lot of eye candy with it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, another guy moving on to the defensive side that I really like is Braden Frisky, the defensive tackle. Now, I'm in this group chat on my account with some of the fans, and this guy named Todd, he calls himself an old head, but he loves this Frisky guy, and I was blown away by his stats. He played 4 years before moving to Florida State for his final year of college, and he is so freaking fast off the line, and he has the speed to get anywhere, and he plays the D tackle position as if he's like a D end, and it's fascinating to watch. I urge you, Garrett, to like look at some of his tape after this.
Hey, look, I'll take a look at him, and obviously, if, from what it sounds like, he likes to get frisky in the D line, and it's really all we're gonna look for.
I mean, he's fast and he has the production, and that's really kind of what I look for. Also, I forgot the batted passes. That's another thing I look for in a lot of these D line prospects. I love the guys.
That's the Spag special, baby. Can you swat a ball?
can you make plays no matter what? Because a lot of these DNs coming out of college, they like keep their heads down and they're not paying attention to the play.
They're
They're just
thinking of one
trying.
player on the field, and that's the quarterback, when really they should be thinking about two, the quarterback and the ball.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. All right, Garrett, do you have someone else for us? I do have.
I, I have one more guy besides my
You're
main draft crush,
cool. So we'll go back to you and then we'll hit me up.
Cam Hart, cornerback,
Mm,
Notre Dame. I think he's got a great frame. I think he is falling a lot farther than he really has put the tape out there for. And I hope he does, because if we can pick him up, I've seen him getting mocked probably around the third and fourth. With the departure of L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, I love our cornerback room. I think Trent McDuffie is going to be a great leader for him there. Uh,
mm-hmm.
but if we can get a guy like Cam Hart, I mean, I think Veach has just been knocking out of the park with these later round cornerback picks, and I think he can continue the trend here. Uh, I mean, he's not the fastest guy. I think he's more of he's not an outside corner, that's for sure. Definitely going to play more of the slot, but he's strong-handed, great press. Just keeps his eyes on the ball and just plays the game. Really
Is he
good
is he
football
a
IQ.
is he a kind of a run stopping corner? Because that's kind of the Snead
I would say
role.
he's got a really good tackle game. I think he reacts pretty well to you know he's
The
watching the
screenplay.
ball, screenplay, boom, he's off.
Well, and
I know I'm super technical when it comes to cornerback terms, but obviously that's what I played.
yeah, Garrett was the star corner. Well, my dad played corner, and he decided not to give me those abilities to play at the next level. He
Hey,
was
look,
a
man,
legend at
and that
Nebraska.
led us here, baby, and we're
Yeah.
all good.
Moving on to a corner that I like. I really like Chris Abrams Drain out of Missouri. Missouri was a very slept on college football team last year. They were really legit, and they
I
were
mean,
just
they
a
were very
couple pieces
competitive in a
away.
lot of their games, and they did not have an easy schedule.
No, they had one of the hardest schedules, and they honestly, if there was a 12-team playoff, I think they would have made it, and I think that they would have at least won one game. Um, I don't like Missouri, but I just got to put respect to respect is due. Now,
Well,
Chris,
hey, listen, we like Missouri for one reason, okay,
yes,
and that's right here.
yes, the team being there. Chris is a smaller guy. 5'11" is kind of around the Brian Picorni, my dad's height. But his stats speak for themselves. I love a corner that can get pass deflections, and he had 12 of them last year. 4 interceptions, knows how to find that ball, and the TFLs is what I like too. 2.5 for a smaller guy. He's really doing it all. He's playing outside. He's playing slot. He's finding ways to make a difference on the defense. And there's a lot of those Missouri players. I think there's another corner as well that's supposed to go in this draft. So his name is getting blurred together with another guy. I think he's the guy that I would want to take if I were to take the Missouri corner.
And that's a fair point. I mean, I haven't seen where he's projected to go, or
They're
whether the
saying
guy's.
they're saying late second, early third. Maybe if he's still around in the late third. That's the thing though too. I'm not worried about our cornerback room either because I trust Watson and Williams. Obviously, I trust Trent McDuffie, and I trust Veach to find somebody that we
Hey,
both have
yeah,
never heard of.
we trust in Veach, and if he finds if we draft a corner in the sixth or seventh, we're just pretty confident he's going to be a baller.
They also say Nazi Johnson, the corner that was injured all of last season. He started at safety, very similar to L'Jarius Sneed in that sense. That he could be the one that ends up being a guy on the roster that steps up and beats the corner three. So that could be really cool. He's a fast corner as well. I really like
Yeah,
Nazi Johnson, friend of the fan page, upper hand Chiefs.
get him on the
Uh,
pod, baby. Get him on the
hey,
pod.
if he wants to come. What do you? So who's your last guy then, or do you want me to do
All
one
right,
more?
you do your one more, and then I got something for you.
Okay. So I also have on my list Kieran and Patrick Paul, which we've already talked about. So Braylon Trice, Washington. Now I don't think it's much of a need anymore to get defensive line or defensive end specifically, but I really like Trice. I think his production speaks for itself. He's one of the most fierce defenders. Like he has that mentality that I like when you're a defensive lineman and all you want to think about is just destroy the quarterback. That guy has it. He has the production to back it up. 7 sacks, 2 pass deflections. Like I said, I like a defensive player that can get those pass deflections at the line. This is all last year. I don't think these stats include the playoffs. So Braylon Trice is projected in the third and fourth round, which is why I wanted to highlight him because I think if he just slips for no reason, you know, we did re-sign Dana, who I think is a sleeper stud, and I think will start to be. I'm so glad we signed Dana. I didn't think we were going to sign him. I didn't think we could afford it, but always good to add defensive line help.
I mean, as always, that position, you can drop like flies as we seen last year. I mean, Amenhu getting injured and
Yeah,
a couple other guys just kind of missing games. If we need a guy for depth, if you believe in it, I wouldn't mind taking him.
yeah. I mean, if he starts to fall, of course.
Yeah.
Now, Garrett, who do you have for us? Is
Okay.
this an offensive lineman or is this a
It's an
special?
offensive lineman. Now, I'm going to give you two sets of accolades. Okay. And I want you to choose which one you'd prefer.
Okay.
Okay. So we got player A, 2-time Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year, 2-time first team All Big 12, and 1-time second team All Big 12. That's player A. Player B, unanimous All American, first team All American, 2-time Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year, and 3-time first team All Big 12.
Well, I mean, it seems quite obvious. Player B.
Do you want to know who player A is first?
Yes.
Player A was the college accolades of our own Creed Humphrey.
Whoa. Okay.
Player B, or in this case, it was player B, is Cooper Beebe, baby, offensive guard / offensive tackle out of K-State. Easily one of the smartest offensive linemen in college football last year. I mean, he has this amazing understanding of how angles and leverage work in conduct with the timing of his punches, timing of his steps, and he just has a great football mind when it comes to reading a defense, figuring out where the defense is going to go after the snap. And that is phenomenal in what we need on the offensive line. Because another similar guy that does the exact same thing, Creed Humphrey. I mean, as he exploded off of the scene, fell a little bit just
I can't
due to him
believe he
being a
fell
little
that low.
undersized. And you know what I'm seeing for this guy, Cooper Beebe?
The
A lot of
same
people
thing.
are saying he's a below average athlete. He's a little too slow off the ball, and he's a little small. But from what I've seen, the skills he has and the film that he has put out there shows that he can excel at either the guard or tackle position. His first year in the first year in college, played a full season of tackle, moved to guard, still dominated. And I have an absolutely insane stat for you of Cooper Beebe. If I can find it.
Is this the one where? Oh, you
So
got it.
he had almost 1,300 true passing snaps in his college career. Just passing snaps. That's not including rushing, just pass. How many sacks do you think he gave up in almost 1,300 attempts?
Like 3.
2.
Wow.
He gave up 2 sacks his entire college career.
Bam.
I think that says everything that needs to be said about Cooper Beebe. Now, do I think he's going to fall past the first? Absolutely not.
You
But
don't?
if it happens and he is there in the second and we already took a wide receiver, I would hit that button almost immediately, even if we have to trade up in the second.
Dang. I mean, I've seen him.
He is incredible, and once Joe Tooney is out to pasture, boom, he is going to fit right into that role. And if he needs to play tackle for us sometimes, he can. He's shown he can, and he's got that dominant mindset. And it's just I'm having a man crush over this guy. I don't know what else to say. I love his film, love his game. I don't know if that's just bias because K-State's nearby, but I mean the dude is a dog.
Well, the Chiefs have brought him in a lot, and that's always a good sign. He came for our local pro day as well as an official visit. I mean, hey, I've seen him all over from first round. I haven't seen as many first round grades on him, but all the way to third round. So he's one of those guys too. A lot of these O linemen, we can't really get a gauge on how these teams evaluate them.
Yeah.
So if he does end up falling there, we lost Nick Algoretti, and that was a big loss that people aren't talking about. We have not only no left tackle, but no backup left tackle / guard / center who can play every position on the O
Yeah,
line.
and to that point, I think the departure of Nick Allegretti is a bigger thing than a lot of people are realizing because Allegretti has played a lot of snaps for us in his tenure here, and
Hmm.
with him being gone, I've always thought he was a starting caliber guard. We were just lucky enough to have him, in our back pocket in case Trey Smith had an injury or Joe Tooney or whether we had to move some guys around for tackle, but I think Cooper Beebe could absolutely fit that role, and I
I
would be the happiest man on earth if he suited up in red come this
Yeah,
season.
dude, he could probably play center if he had to, which is what Algoretti had to take some
And
snaps
he
in second
has.
team.
He's played all over the board.
Oh,
So,
he has played center. Wow.
hmm
Okay. I mean, hey, if he's there, listen, I'm all for protecting Mahomes. It's not a flashy pick, but guys, we need to protect Mahomes. I'm talking
look,
to you
if we
guys.
can win back-to-back Super Bowls with those receiving cores, love my boys. But as long as we give time to Mahomes in the pocket, we can absolutely go for three.
Yeah, exactly. I think what's going to make three happen is a healthy Mahomes and a deep threat presence. And we signed Hollywood Brown. We need to protect our Mahomes.
And to all the
And
people
we need more
listening and
running.
watching, if you disagree about the time in the pocket thing, ask Joe Burrow in that Super Bowl he played. Look at you.
Ask
Remember,
Mahomes in
ask
2020.
yeah. Oh
When
my
I think
God.
Algoretti was our best player
Yes, he
on that
was.
line.
He absolutely was. I mean, there's probably a graphic out there that has our starting offensive line for that Super Bowl, and it is just the most ragtag group of individuals.
Of heroes, Garrett. They
I could
tried. They
heroes,
tried.
man.
Oh,
What an awful
who's the
matchup
guard?
too.
Who was the guard that we liked a lot? Wisnowski. Wisnowski was starting.
Wishnowski. Yep.
He was good, but he was not in his
Did
prime
we
at
still
all
have
for that
Mitch
Super Bowl.
Morse that year?
No, we had Austin Ryder, who actually did win
Ryder.
a Super Bowl with us,
Yeah.
I think, as our starting center. But
God.
yeah, I think
Backup
the O line
offensive
is.
lineman, man. I love him.
We need the offensive line.
Fill the trenches, baby. That's all you got to do.
Well, Garrett, I don't know if we have time for a complete mock draft, unless we do, and we could just go over an hour. Honestly.
I think we got time.
I
mean,
think we
hey,
do.
we're the hosts here.
Yeah,
we
decide.
can go over on time.
So you want to do
who's counting?
So you want to do every player in the first round, or every
Yes,
team
every
in the first
team
round?
in the first round. I think we just do a coin toss. Whoever you be heads, I be or you. I know you're a tails never fails guy, so I'll let you be tails.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll be heads.
have a
You flip a
coin?
coin. I have a
don't have
coin
a
right here,
coin.
actually. You always gotta have one nearby, baby.
I have
So,
a credit card.
Tails. You
I
take
am
the first
picking
pick.
tails. I am always picking tails. Tails
Heads,
never fails.
me, okay? I'm gonna show the
All right.
camera, make sure.
I almost don't want the first pick because it's boring. It's Caleb Williams.
What is
can't.
that? It's heads, baby.
All right, so now you have
No,
to take
actually, it's
Caleb
tails.
Williams.
I'm just stupid. It is you. Tails never
Can I
fails,
defer
guess.
to? Can I?
You want to
the
defer
second
because you know
half?
exactly who the first round pick is, who the first number one overall is going to be.
Well, wait. Doesn't pick one also get pick 32 though? So I think I'm gonna pick one then.
There you go. No problem.
All right, I have set up the simulator here. For our
Using
listeners
PFF
at
this
home,
time. We
Yes.
used mock draft simulator the last time. We're gonna just mix it up, see if we like the mocks that come out. I mean, I guess we're not gonna have any auto picks this time, but I think
Yeah,
a lot of people
but-
use PFF. So
well, it just looks clean. Also, we can do better trades here. So I, with the Bears, will trade away the first overall pick. No, I'm kidding. Let's take the easy pick here.
I
of
mean,
Caleb
I think
Williams.
I think it's pretty obvious there. And with Washington, I don't see a lot of other options other than going quarterback here. I mean, I like Sam Howell, but is he that guy that's going to take you over the edge?
They traded him to Seattle.
How did I miss that?
I know it was so.
I'm insane.
No,
Well,
I know.
we're definitely going quarterback then. And honestly, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going Jaden Daniels.
I like that pick. I think Howell or May is starting to fall. Another UNC quarterback. The
Now,
Patriots
can
are on the
Jaden
clock.
Daniels give Washington the success that Robert Griffin III did not? Who's to say?
Who is to say? If they don't try to kill him, I want to trade away this pick if I'm the Patriots because I think they have their eyes on somebody else at quarterback and they don't really like Howell. So I need to find. It looks like everybody and their mother wants to offer. I think the Vikings.
I could see them moving up as well. I think they have a guy in mind, and I could definitely see them moving up to steal it from somebody else.
Okay, so how, dude, doing a trade is hard. I think what would it take 11 and probably a
We're
first
not
next
doing
year?
second rounders, so you can just force the trade. They can get into the semantics in real life. We can
Okay,
just force a trade. We're getting up to that pick.
the Vikings are on the clock now after they traded a first round pick, and they will be selecting Drake May.
I completely agree. I think that's absolutely where and now the Cardinals are an interesting endeavor.
They need everything.
They need everything. Now, do I really like their quarterback situation? Not really, but do I think they're going to go quarterback again? I don't think so. I think here, I think they're going to try and give our boy Kyler Murray one more year. Hot take: they're taking Rome Odunze
Wow,
over Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr.
you think so? At 4. I mean, hey, anything can happen. As we saw last year with I still can't get over the Will Anderson trade. That was insane.
Yeah, hey, look, I mean, they just blew it out of the water last year.
Now, unfortunately for our Chargers, I think they quickly
I think
scoop
they
up Marvin
absolutely
Harrison
swoop
Jr.
up Marvin Harrison.
Now,
New
Giants.
York, I don't think there's too many great quarterbacks left
Well,
on
there
the
is the
market.
guy. The
I
guy.
just don't think JJ McCarthy is going to go very high. Honestly, I think the Giants trade back here. I think they get some
Okay.
decent, just a little bit of decent value out of it. I don't think they trade too far back. I would probably say the Jets trade up.
Why would the Jets need a quarterback?
I think they're going to really line up wide receiver. They're going to
Okay.
load up. This is their year. They got Rodgers back. They're in their Super Bowl window right now, and they're going to try and load up that offense and just score some points.
Where are the Jets? Okay, so 10, 6, and I think an easy second, third swap will do the trick.
Yeah,
Wait. Yes.
semantics.
Semantics.
And I think they're going to take Malik Neighbors here.
If Malik Neighbors does slide, I think that they'd have to trade up and make a move here. Now, this is the literal, like, I'm not even going to think, okay, Joe Alt
Yeah,
is a
like
Titan.
easily. And I'm not even going to think here either. We're going to go Cooper DeJean.
Oh, okay.
Cornerback, that's been their biggest weakness. They need somebody that can anchor down that position, and Cooper is just outclassing everyone else.
Fair enough. Bears are on the clock and they miss out on the wide receiver pool. Now, I've talked to some Bears fans because I live with a lot of them, and they one of them wants Bowers, and I think that's just absolutely insane. Get a defensive lineman. They are really weak on the D line, or a tackle here. I think we're gonna go. Poof. Byron Murphy out of Texas here. A little.
I think now that the Giants have traded back, I think now they're going to go quarterback, and they're going to get the guy they wanted,
Ooh.
and that's going to be J.J. McCarthy.
Now that's why I had the Patriots trading back was I thought they were going to snag up JJ McCarthy. So good play by the Giants,
He's
making New
off the
England's
clock.
choice very hard. Now, I have seen a lot of New England liking Michael Penix Jr. a lot. Now, we really don't know who could go in the first round. They might save the pick to get Penix later.
And now the way the board's shaping up, do they kind of reach on a quarterback due to the Broncos' position on the board?
Ooh, that's a good point
And as
too.
well as the Raiders coming up as well, and the Saints. They have a very, you know, uh, competitive board coming up here, and do they go quarterback?
You know what? That is a good point. I was going to have them pivot. They might have to take it. It's going to be Penix for the New
A lot
England
of quarterbacks
Patriots.
off the board first. Uh,
There's
Now
a
they've
need. There's a need for
there's a
quarterbacks in
need.
this
There's
league.
absolutely a need, and I
There's
don't think they want to wait. They don't. They've seen quarterbacks are dropping like flies, and I think they're going to follow suit. They're going to take Bo Nix.
there he goes. Uh, upper hand Chiefs or upper hand Chiefs employee, upper hand fantasy employee. Uh, Brandon is a Broncos fan, and he really wants Bo Nix. Like really wants Bo Nix. So
Well, you're welcome.
Moo, is it my turn? Oh
It is your
no.
turn.
No, we have to do a Raiders type pick. They will be taking Xavier Worthy at pick 13. This is literally the only reason I'm doing this is because
That's
let's be
totally a
real.
Raiders pick too.
The
I
top
think we
wide
know who
receivers
we're
are starting to
shading. I
go.
think we know who we're alluding to. But
Xavier Worthy is gone.
I could totally see that pick.
I was gonna make them pick Quinion Mitchell too, or Tyrion Arnold, because I could also see them ruining their careers. But Xavier Worthy, I think, is not what's gonna happen, but I could see it.
And I think the Saints here, I don't think they go tackle. Quarterbacks kind of dropped really fast in this draft. Maybe they don't want to reach too far for a wide receiver. I think they go Jerjon Newton here,
Oh, okay,
the D
great.
lineman out
Where
of
did he go?
Illinois.
Oh, yes. A player that doesn't get talked about enough in all the mock drafts I run with the fan pages, people just forget he exists, and maybe that's because he plays for Illinois. But he was supposed to be a top 5 draft prospect at the beginning of the year, and it's not like he did anything wrong to not be that. It's
Just
just other
happened to play
players.
for a school that isn't in the spotlight very often.
Colts at 15. Now, they've always kind of done this thing with their tight ends where they have a bunch of late round guys that are actually kind of sleepers. I love Mo Alley Cox, and I like Granson, I think his name is their other tight end. But if Brock Bowers fell to them, now I think their O line actually does need some help.
It's
So
true.
potentially I could see them getting Olu, but Brock Bowers is a generational talent.
Yeah,
They've
him
had
dropping to
Dallas
15. I
Clark,
mean, that's too juicy of a burger to just kind of like swipe off the board. They
well, and you
just want
got,
to bite into that.
and they've got some
Um,
historic great tight ends. So
Seahawks here, I think they're pretty solid on offense right now. I think they're finally clicking with Geno. I don't think they need too much more help.
and their O line
Uh,
got so much better.
I agree. I think here, most likely, I think they go the kid out of UCLA. I think they go Laiatu Latu.
That's a good point. They've never really had a good pass rusher since Frank Clark, and that was in 2019.
And a lot of
Uh,
these edges they've dropped so far in this mock. So I mean, they got a pretty premier one right out the gate.
I think the Jags have an easy choice here. This just screams Jaguars corner to me. Quinion
Absolutely.
Mitchell is, I think, the first corner off the board. He is not because the Falcons took Cooper DeJean.
Now, with the Bengals pick here, I think every single Cincinnati Bengals fan would absolutely storm the war room in Cincinnati if they do not go tackle here. I think I don't want to,
Well,
but do
let's
I
find.
go? Do I go who I think is the best, or do I go who I think they're going to take?
A little bit of both. I also think they're gonna take who I think you're about to say.
We're going to see if he can drop. I doubt it, but I'm going to have them take Troy Fautanu from
Okay.
Washington.
I feel like they're gonna take late
Yeah, they absolutely
JC
are going to take J.C. Latham from me, but
because he's an Alabama tackle. They had Jonah
imagine they
Williams.
go wide receiver again, though. Imagine.
AD Mitchell is there, and I know everybody's gonna want him. Wait, Brian Thomas is still available. PFF doesn't like Brian Thomas. Interesting. This is why we can't.
Rams aren't interesting because they need a lot.
I actually could see the Jags taking Brian Thomas if I had known he was going to be available, but the
Classic
Rams,
Jags bungling, right?
yeah, classic Jags bungling. I feel like the Jags nail the draft. The players go away. Like
Yeah, they're like, well, hey, I'm going to play on my contract and not really liking Gainesville that much anymore, not going to lie.
Rams are taking Dallas Turner. I was gonna have them take Byron Murphy, but he's already gone. And hell, he's Dallas Turner's fallen too. PFF's got a really interesting mock draft system. I have
Yeah.
Dallas Turner going 8 to the Falcons in most of my mock drafts. So really
I
crazy
think
how PFF evaluates
this
players.
one's interesting because I know the Steelers have a need at wide receiver, but I also think, man, Brian Thomas is juicy there.
I know, and I think if they don't take him, the Dolphins might.
You
Or
think so?
the
I think
Dolphins
they
have
have
been
a.
they've been looking for another wide receiver just all off season. I don't know why they want another one. They have Waddle and Tyreek, but they need to address their
I
needs.
think what the Steelers are seeing right now is that they have some tackles down the board that they can draft.
Hmm.
They are going to go Adonai Mitchell.
That's also
I'm sorry, but that's just the way it's gonna fall.
dang. Adonai Mitchell and George Pickens is
I
a
mean,
scary.
with the teams in front, I don't think he'd fall much farther than that. But that's where I'm gonna go.
So the Dolphins, they're gonna take care of their need here. It's just best tackle available. JC
Absolutely.
JC
I mean,
Latham.
that's just that would be a no-brainer. Now, the Eagles have been killing it recently with their first-round picks, and they've gotten a couple guys that have fallen pretty hard.
Mm.
And with the departure of Jason Kelsey and their starting tackle, I think they go.
Here, I can put it to only O line because we're missing a lot of prospects because PFF just has
Yeah,
everybody.
they just kind of
different.
sink them. I think I'm gonna have them take Jackson Powers Johnson. Good center out of Oregon. I think with the departure of Kelsey, they really need someone under center that can continue that mean streak that Kelsey has had for so long, and Jackson Powers will do it.
I like that too. And also Cam Jurgens out of Nebraska, he is supposed to be like the protege center that they've been training up. However, has played guard while Kelsey has been playing, and he's been playing guard at an elite level. Why mess with greatness if you have a player like Jackson Powers Johnson fall to you? Vikings are finally on the clock after trading back. They were able to keep their other first round pick. They didn't need it to get to the Patriots one. I ended up giving them a different pick from last year. So the Vikings can really do what I think they've wanted to and get edge Jared Verse to really solve that problem of losing Danielle Hunter. I know they got the kid out of Houston, Grenard, who's really good, but Jared Verse is an absolute stud.
Now I'm gonna go a very Dallas Cowboys pick here. Let me see some running backs.
No.
I think Dallas our boy Jerry is looking at this board right now and he goes, a lot of these wide receivers fell. Xavier Worthy's gone. Adonai Mitchell's gone. He's going Jonathan Brooks, baby. Keep him home. Keep him in Texas. Dallas Cowboys all the way, baby.
So I was just talking to Zach, who is one of the Upper Hand Cowboys page guy, and he was talking to me yesterday about how he is so fearful of that reality happening. Like
I can totally see it.
I mean, hey, they made no move in the offseason to fix the running back room. Royce Freeman is not going to save your life. Packers.
God, Royce Freeman.
I know I was talking to you, Pat, about having Fuaga. I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry. But I think Oli still being here is surprising. So we're going to take him. Again, PFF, man, they got such different grades than the people. And hey, I mean, it's just their software, But no one's right. So that's what we always default to.
And I think one of the biggest problems last year was pass protection for our man Baker in the backfield for Tampa Bay. I think a lot of pressure came from inside. So I think I'm going to go interior O-line here.
Oh.
Man, they really just sink them in this draft. They might not reach that far for Zach Frazier. So we might switch it up a little bit, go back to tackle.
There's some
I
guys
think for
here.
Tampa Bay, I think I like Amarius Mims going there.
I like that too. A very athletic tackle who really mirrors Tristan Wirfs a lot, and I think
now, like I said, a lot of these tackles that we've been picking so far, I had no problem not scouting just due to the fact that I know they're going to go pretty early in the draft,
which stinks, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm glad we have pick 32 because that means we did something good.
This is true. Hey, I'll take pick 32 over a good draft pick every day of the week, baby.
Look, the Cardinals, they took Marvin Harrison already. I was about to make them take Brian Thomas, who is still falling on this board, which, oh my gosh.
You know exactly who they're going to next.
Dude, the Kansas City Chiefs need to call because right now the tackles board looks really good for Cardinals. Do we trade up for Brian Thomas? I know. How about this?
Hey, it's our podcast. Chiefs are trading up, baby.
They're going to trade up.
They're
for
going
Brian
up to 27.
Thomas.
They're jumping the Bills again.
Oh, and they are offering. They're one of 4 teams that are offering. We're going to take that pick. What do we have to give up, Garrett, to trade up in this draft? Do
I
we give
think
up the third rounder that we
I think
gave
due
up
to
from
us, I think it
Tennessee?
has to be a bit bigger.
All right, the second rounder of next year. Is that what's going to cost to
I
move
think
up
so.
5 spots in the NFL draft?
I think so.
It does not have a good chance of being
Gonna
accepted.
force it.
Nope. We're
We leave it up
gonna
to semantics here.
we're gonna give them a fifth. This trade will not be accepted.
We might need something big, David.
It looks like we're gonna have to give up pick 95.
And hey, if it has to be, it has to be. Chiefs are on the clock. And what are you taking here, David? We've got a lot of great options.
We're gonna get Tyrese.
Tyrese Flaga.
I like him a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Brian Thomas has fallen.
And right into the Chiefs' lap.
Right into the Chiefs' lap.
The future is here.
The Bills are mauling. Prospect.
That is why we jumped them. The Bills thought that they were going to get him, but they did not. That is why we jump.
And I think I could see them going wide receiver here right after us. Not the biggest fan of Troy Franklin. Lad McConkey. Honestly,
I think he could be the one.
I'm getting shades and alludes to, what's that Bills receiver? Long hair, blonde.
Oh, Cole Beasley.
I'm getting shades. I think I'm going to go Lad McConkey here.
All right, good pick. That's now the wide receiver 1 in Buffalo. They're fuming because they thought they were going to get Brian Thomas, but the Chiefs said,
just
all right,
sniped
Cardinals,
it.
We're going to make a move. We're going to make a move. This is fun. I do like the idea of, see, if Brian Thomas fell, then we trade up for him.
Well, yeah,
I know we've been talking tackle all day, but listen.
But I mean, if a talent like Brian Thomas were to fall that far, I mean.
And I don't know why PFF is so low on him. And there is rumors that he is not good. So it's crazy just how much no one knows anything. Our last first round receiver that we took was a whiff. Such a whiff. I forgot his name after looking him up before the show. It was like in 2012. Yeah. Lions. Is this my pick?
It is your pick.
Well, they have some they need corner. They need corner bad.
They need it bad.
And they're going to fix that problem with Nate Wiggins.
Nate Wiggins, huh? Okay. I respect it. Ravens are going to go tackle here every day of the week. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to take Tyler Guyton.
Oh,
I think he jumps a little bit. I think they snipe him. He's one of my guys.
So this has worked out well for the Chiefs in the second round if we were doing a second round pick because there's a ton of tackles left on the board.
Agreed.
The Niners also need a tackle, and they will be taking Mr. Tyrese.
And with the final pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals, after trading back with the Chiefs, not really wanting to reach on a guy, I think they go Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Perfect. I was hoping you were going to go there because they did need a corner. They saw 3 corners still available on the board. They said,
and the branding alone is worth it.
Exactly. The branding alone is worth it. They knew, and there's always a corner that always jumps or falls in these drafts. They knew that they could take their guy.
Hey, he's going to take it to heart, and he's going to be a baller for him.
The Bills fans are fuming at this trade up.
We love it. We love the mauling Bills.
So a quick recap before we get out of here. Garrett, we are running 13 over, but hey, that's how we do things here.
That's how we roll, man.
Caleb Williams to the Bears. The Washington Commanders the Washington Commanders did not trade up. They took Jaden Daniels. The Vikings traded up and got Drake May. The Cardinals take a surprise with Rome Odunze.
They reach a little bit.
But they got who they think is the best guy on the board. Marvin Harrison goes to the Chargers. I would fear that for my life. The Jets, seeing Malik Neighbors fall, trade up and get him. Joe Alt to the Titans. The Falcons, Cooper DeJean. Byron Murphy becomes a Chicago Bear as they have done everything on the offensive side. They want to get some defensive help. J.J. McCarthy is your new Giants quarterback, and Michael Penix Jr. is your new Patriots quarterback, followed by Bo Nix, who's your new
huge
Broncos quarterback.
Hey, Bo Nix, if you go to the Broncos, all the best of luck to you, man.
You like Bo Nix a lot? I like him too. I think he's overhated.
Yeah.
The Raiders
Hey, listen, if he goes to the Broncos, I don't see him succeeding too much, hopefully, but we'll see.
The Raiders get spicy and take Xavier Worthy at pick 13 because they just can't get over how fast he is and how great of a compliment he'd be to Devontae Adams. The Saints continue to rebuild that D line as Cameron Jordan is getting up in age. The Colts, with taking Jerzon Newton, I have to remember that the listeners can't hear or can't see, so I have to say everything.
Yeah, Jerzon Newton, if you didn't
Yes.
know. Saints took him at 14.
Colts snag up Brock Bowers at 15. The UCLA product, Latu, the edge rusher that I don't know how to say his first name, hopefully fixes Seattle's
I'm going to say it, Liatu, probably.
Yeah, there you go. Quinyon Mitchell is a Jacksonville Jaguar, followed up by the Bengals taking Troy Fontenot out of Washington. Dallas Turner fell all the way to the Rams, and they couldn't be happier about that. The Steelers say, we traded away Deontay Johnson. Let's get Adonai Mitchell. The Dolphins take their tackle of the future and Garrett's favorite, J.C. Latham. The Eagles, with Jackson Powers Johnson being their new center to replace Mr. Kelsey. Jared Verse, edge out of Florida State. Vikings, makes sense. They still kept their pick. The Cowboys do a Cowboys thing.
Very
It's
Cowboy.
funny. Both of the picks that should not have happened were Texas players. Jonathan Brooks to the Cowboys. This is not bias, I promise. I think Jonathan Brooks is a stud, but I do not think he should be taken in the first round because it's not a valuable position.
A la Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
The Green Bay Packers are quite happy that Ulu Fasanu fell to them from Penn State, that tackle. And the Buccaneers are happy that Armarius, oh my Jesus, dude, it's hard to say.
Amarius Mims goes to the Buccaneers straight out of Georgia at 26.
A great player, definitely an athletic tackle to pair with Tristan Wirfs.
Now in the steal of the draft.
The Kansas City Chiefs see a guy that they really like falling, a guy who they've met with in the Combine, Brian Thomas Jr. And so they say, hey, Cardinals, give us your pick. And they trade up and get Brian Thomas. The Bills are fuming at 28. They settle for Ladd McConkey. The Lions take Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. The Ravens get another OU tackle, as it seems to be something they like to do, in Tyler Guyton. The San Francisco 49ers fill that right tackle position with Tylese Fuaga out of Oregon State. And the Cardinals, with their now Chiefs pick, pretending they won the Super Bowl at pick 32, get Kool-Aid McKinstry to really solidify that secondary.
Probably one of the last times they'll pick at 32, if we're being honest. But hey, they can dream, right?
So yeah, Garrett, great episode here today. That was very, very insightful. I'm very happy with all that research you're able to do on the offensive line. Dang, I can see why you're a coach.
Hey man, just really big passion of mine, and obviously I hope these guys do well. The way scouting goes, obviously these boys could be whiffs. Who knows? But from what I've seen, these are the guys I like, and hopefully we can snag one of them.
And hey, there's a lot of intangibles too. It comes down to situation, opportunity, personality meshes. Does your coach hate you? Like Kadarius Toney's coach in New York. In New York.
And fans here, but hey,
listen,
that was never here or there.
We support our boy. He did his job in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, and for that you must always appreciate.
This is true. I will give up a third-round pick for a Super Bowl ring every day of the week.
Exactly. I don't think that's nearly as bad as giving a third-round pick for Mohamed Sanu and not winning the Super Bowl.
That's true.
It all comes back to the beginning.
It comes back.
All right. Well, we're coming back next week after the draft. We're going to be talking about who the Chiefs picked, if we like them, if we're not. We'll probably watch film on them because I do have that all 22 footage that we should use to our advantage. And you guys can submit on our Discord server if you want us to look at prospects. It'll be too late because we'll already be drafted,
and who knows, you might get a live reaction of some day 2 picks.
You might. Oh yeah. I think according to my schedule it might be day 3, but we'll see how that works out.
Day 3 is interesting, man.
Day 3, maybe day 2, day 1. I can't make that work.
Might be a reel. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Go follow the Instagram account. Go listen to us on Spotify because we're going to actually have that out pretty soon.
And Apple Podcast.
Oh, yes, and Apple Podcast. My favorite service that I have never used. That wraps us here today. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Good luck in that draft. I root for all the teams to have a good draft, except for
besides the Broncos
and the Raiders, especially
and the Chargers.
And yeah.